When is the last time you did something you were really proud of? One of the big moments in life that shapes who you become and you'll never be able to forget. For me, it was about a week ago when I completed my first 5K race ever. A year ago, I decided to commit to myself physically, mentally, spiritually, and becoming the best version of myself I possibly could. I hadn't been living up to the best version of myself, and I knew that I wanted to challenge myself to become even better than I already was. This is the infinite evolution. A year ago, I decided to rededicate myself to myself. Renewed commitment when it came to health, wealth, and relationships. The things I should have been doing but had simply been neglecting. Because 2 years ago, I lost my father. And despite the fact that I thought I was ready for it, it did something to me mentally that I wasn't quite prepared for. I felt lost, I was hurt, and I didn't know what to do. Days and nights bled into each other, and I didn't know up from down. Now, to be fair, it probably started even before then, but the moment when he finally left felt like the final straw, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it or even who I could turn to. So instead of living my life to the fullest, it felt like I was surviving but never thriving, like I was alive but never truly living life the way it was meant to be. And maybe in that moment that was all I had, but eventually once I started to come out of it, I knew I had to do better. I knew that I had been neglecting myself, and I knew that if I continued to stay exactly where I was, I too might end up leaving this earth far too soon. And I never want to put my people through that type of pain, especially when it's something that's preventable and within my grasp as health, and certainly not living up to what the Creator intended for me. So I had to do better. Eventually I was going to have to do something if I ever wanted to get out of it. Nobody but me will be able to look in the mirror, be honest with myself, and start to make the changes. Yes, I have support systems. Yes, I'm surrounded by love and positivity and goodness, but it's still up to me to make the decision to commit to myself and become just a little bit better than I previously was. I didn't need to build Rome in a day, just be a little bit better than I was the previous one. So I decided to do something different. I started running. I joined a couple of run clubs. I started working out here and there. I started eating better. I stopped eating pizza. I stopped drinking juice. A bunch of tiny things. Last week felt like the beginning of something special. It was the culmination of this year of me transforming and growing and changing my life for the better. 1 year after I decided to wake up, commit to myself, and live up to the best parts of myself, I ran my first 5K race ever, and it felt amazing. 1 year after choosing discipline and showing up consistently for myself, because who else can commit to myself if I won't? When it comes to getting in shape and reclaiming your health, it is a psychological, spiritual, and emotional process disguised as a physical one. From the outside looking in, it appears to be a task that is suited for your body, but it's your mind that's controlling everything. So today we discuss the mindset and mentality of a runner, a competitor, the one who doesn't quit, the one who shows up consistently and does what needs to be done. The way you think and process information must be different if you want to achieve different results. How do you make sure that you perform up to your best even when you're not feeling it? Maybe things didn't go well during training. How do you still live up to the best version of you? Maybe you got a small injury. Maybe time wasn't on your side. Maybe you're not as fast as everybody else. How do you train your mind to think like a winner so that you perform the way you need to when the lights are brightest? This is the infinite evolution, because that wisdom and mentality that they must embrace in order to be their best is absolutely psychological, but it feels physical. From the outside looking in, it feels like if you could just push your body a little bit more, that would be enough. But your mind is controlling everything. It's the central processing unit for all of your actions. So once you control what's up here, you control all of the actions that proceed. This is the infinite evolution. First and foremost, don't underestimate what you can get done in a year's time. If you can keep a balanced and healthy perspective of just how much you can achieve, if you can be consistent with your day-to-day process, there's no limit to what you can get done. But only if you embrace the proper mindset, only if you choose to be patient with yourself, choose to give yourself a little bit of grace, recognize and understand that if you are out of shape, you didn't get that way in one day. So giving yourself that grace and leeway in order to slowly build your way back up is going to be necessary if you hope to become your best. In a world where you're told that everything can be done in an instant, you need to recognize that patience is the virtue that's going to get you to the top. Not rushing or being hard on yourself or pushing yourself beyond what your limits are. Understanding how you got here and then building accordingly. It is a beautiful gift and even a skill to be able to focus on the present and be where your feet are. Not focused on the past, not obsessed with the future, but run your race and be exactly where your feet are in that moment. You can't jump 5 steps ahead and you can't go back to where you were, but you also don't need to. If you consistently show up with the effort and discipline that's necessary, there's no way you won't win, because so few people are willing to do so. Your ability to focus on the present and consistently give your best is what brought you here today. Don't lose sight of that. So whether you were consistently inconsistent, not eating the things you needed to, or you consistently showed up, ate how you needed to, hydrated how you needed to, rested how you needed to, the dividends will be paid out. The question is, how are you investing your time? What are you doing with your mind and the perspective it takes in order to be consistent? Because only you can run this race. And even more than that, only you can decide to do it in a way that's excellent, to live up to those high standards that you know you're capable of and actually max out your potential. The choice is yours. The decision to put forth the effort is yours. The discipline, the courage it takes to believe in and bet on yourself, it's all up to you. So choose wisely, move consistently, and you will win the race. This is the infinite evolution. The next thing a great runner and competitor knows is that your mind and ability to control it is everything. Your mind and the way you think will either be your greatest asset or your biggest liability, and you get to decide which one it becomes. Will you train your mind to be focused, or will you allow it to slip into distraction? Either way, it's up to you. The time is going to pass regardless, but what do you choose to fill it with? Moments of discipline and building, or moments of distraction and confusion? And all because you decided it. When you learn to control your mind and balance it with patience and urgency, you become unstoppable, unrecognizable to your former self, and a version of yourself so good that even you might not have been able to dream it up. That's the power of controlling your mind. You're capable of greatness, but only if you allow yourself to tap into it. You were built and destined to be the best version of you possible, but only if you decide and commit to it. You can't run the entire race in one moment, nor can you finish training in one day or 1 week. But if you consistently build, if every day you show up and you invest more and more good time and energy into the bank of your life, there's no way it won't pay back dividends. But what are you choosing to invest? How wisely are you allocating your time and resources? And how committed are you truly to becoming your best self? We'll know it based on your actions. They say a man will be known by his fruits. Well, based on the work you do and the mindset you have, that's what's going to determine the fruits that you eventually bear. When you're locked in and dedicated consistently, you're going to be able to perform. And not just at a higher level, but with more ease and efficiency than a person who doesn't. Just think about it. If you and somebody else have the exact same year to train for the exact same race, but you take it serious and they don't, you show up consistently, they don't, you eat right, they don't, how would they ever be able to outrun you? And I'm not talking about other people, I'm talking about you. If you train harder than the laziest version of you, if you train harder than your biggest excuse, if you don't procrastinate, if you make the time, if you commit to excellence, you won't be denied it. You will earn your place among the greats. And when I'm talking greats, I'm talking about the greatest moments of your life. So because you can't run the entire race in one moment, you need to keep your mind sharp, focus, and understanding that you're not going to build Rome in a day, but a steady and consistent pace is all you need to get it done. Still moving with urgency, still pushing yourself, but also understanding you don't need to get every single thing right now. In fact, if you do too much too quickly, you may burn out before you even get to the end of the race. Pace yourself, give yourself grace. You trained for this moment, you dedicated yourself, but you are still human. And so based on the training that you did or didn't do, that's what's going to determine how comfortable you are with pushing yourself to the limit. This is why your mind must be committed to consistency. Not doing something magical, not being special in one moment, not having some miracle occur, but consistently showing up so that when the day of the race is here, it becomes like child's play. You've done this so many times that all you need to do is go through the motions one more time because you've been prepared. You're ready. Your lung capacity is greater. Your muscles are stronger. Your mind is ready and focused because you've already done it enough times to know what it takes. This is the infinite evolution. This is how you keep a good pace but also stay relaxed. And this is how you push yourself in order to do something greater than even you could have imagined. Because when you show up and consistently train over the course of a year, you will become unrecognizable. Today is literally yesterday's future. So where you are right now is because of your past, which means right here, right now, you're currently writing your future. You're currently setting yourself up for better or worse based on your actions. What sort of life are you setting yourself up for? What sort of race are you preparing to run? The best one possible? Or are you planning to sputter, planning to get tired, planning to fumble and fold? Give yourself the best chance at winning by preparing now. Because if you are blessed enough to see another year on this earth, the work you put in today is going to determine how you perform tomorrow. So take it serious. A year always seems like a long time until you actually live it. But every time a new year comes around and you reflect and ponder on how quickly the old one left, that's when you realize a year can sneak by just like that if you're not paying attention, so make sure you are. You also have to understand that your focus and perspective is everything. Who and what you choose to focus on will determine how you actually perform. If every day during practice you're focused on things that are completely irrelevant, you won't get the best out of yourself. But if somehow, some way you can free your mind, you'll also free up your ability to perform at the highest level. But once again, only if you choose it. When you run a 5K, everybody has a different starting time. The race that I ran last week had about 7,500 people in it. Everybody is starting at different times. And if you choose to focus on others, then you choose to neglect yourself. You'll choose to not run your best race. You'll choose to get distracted with things that don't matter, and you'll choose to underperform. So do you choose to watch others and be motivated and inspired, or do you get discouraged and lose focus because it seems like somebody is better than you? When you notice other runners, how does your brain choose to process that information? Do you use it as fuel and motivation to push you forward, or is it a distraction or another excuse in order to not focus and do your best? Once again, this is why training is so important, because if you consistently been running, then you know what it feels like to have another runner pass you by or have the lead and keep that thing. But if you never do it, you'll never get the experience. Unless you're first, you will be behind somebody else. Lock in. Unless you're the fastest person out there, somebody's eventually gonna pass you. It doesn't matter. Lock in. Run your race. Do your best and let the chips fall where they may. Somebody else may be right next to you, right behind you, right in front of you. It doesn't matter. Lock in and do what you need to do to run your race. Their feet won't move you any faster. Their lungs won't give you more breath. So why are you focused on them? Unless somehow, some way you're using it as fuel to motivate you, you need to focus on you. So be where your feet are. Run your race by staying in your lane, and that's when you'll get the best results. They can't run for you. They can't breathe for you. They can't make you any faster or slower unless you choose to give them that power. And once again, everything comes back to your mind. If you're really focused on running your best race, you need every bit of mental capacity that you have in order to push yourself. Well, how can you do that if you're focused on what the next man is doing? If you're looking at how fast she's running, or the person who passed you up, or the person who's running on your tail, it doesn't matter. Run your race, focus on your time, be your best self, and everything else will work itself out. This is the infinite evolution. If everyone has a different start time, minding their business will literally make you slower because it has nothing to do with you. Whether it's 2,000, 3,000, 7,500 people running, you have no idea when people started, when they stopped, when they took a breath, any of it. And to be honest, it really doesn't matter. One of the biggest issues we struggle with as a society is being present in the moment, being where your feet are, not being distracted, not focusing on things that are irrelevant to what you're doing, and simply living in the moment. That's when you get the best results. They say people never get their flowers while they can still smell them. Well, what about giving yourself the flowers you deserve? Showing yourself the respect and love that you deserve, all because you put in the work training. Even the idea of thinking about all of the sacrifices you made, eating the correct foods, being disciplined, not going out, getting the extra rest, foregoing things that might be fun in the moment in order for the much bigger picture. Why would you ever make so many sacrifices if when the lights are brightest, you freeze up and lose all focus? This is why you gotta train your mind so your actions follow suit. This is the infinite evolution, because much like in life, we're all running different races. You don't know what they're going through. They don't know what your training looked like. You don't know what their situation was, and nobody knows what everybody else is experiencing. So just focus on you, and it does you no good to focus on the footsteps of another when you haven't even placed yours where they need to be. Lock in, focus, tighten up, and show yourself that love through action, whether it's a race or life. It's so easy and common to compare yourself to others, but the only person who you need to compare yourself to is your former self. The person you were a day ago, or a week ago, or a month ago. Who were you a year ago, and how much have you grown? Who were you a day ago, and how much more will you continue to push? Who were you a week ago, and what does that consistency say about your trajectory? You get to decide how you show up for you. Maybe you grew immensely in that last year, or maybe you didn't do nearly enough and you're a lot closer to your former self than what you actually should be. Either way, a year's time is going to pass. How are you choosing to fill it up with the best version of you consistently, building towards something greater, or inconsistency, excuses, procrastination, and underachieving when you know you were meant for the top? That's not the infinite evolution, and it never will be. True wisdom means learning from the mistakes of others. But sometimes, despite everything your eyes show you, everything your ears might have heard, you may just need to bump your head a little bit in order for the lesson to sink in. And if that is you, just don't let it happen again. Maybe on the day of the race, you realize, I didn't do nearly as much as I could have. Let next year be better. If the day of the race comes and you're not as prepared as you thought you were, you can always go back to the drawing board and reevaluate. eat better, rest better, think better, and train yourself to be more prepared for the moment. That way you can win. Because at the end of the day, who are you actually competing against? Your former self. It is you versus you. And if you can't accept it, then you'll never be able to overcome it. Which leads to the next lesson. Your past got you here. Good or bad, whatever you did has led you to this moment, and you need to be able to live with the results. If you didn't train hard enough, so what? You're here now. If you did train hard enough, use it to push yourself to be your best. But whatever the case, your past is exactly why you're going to perform the way you do. You can choose success by practicing consistency and intentionality, or you can choose to make excuses by letting the days slip through your finger as easily as they do. How seriously did you take your training and diet? How consistent and committed were you to making sure you got the proper rest, nutrition, hydration, all of it? What did you do with that time? What are you telling yourself you did with that time? Because if somehow, some way you did mismanage your time, what's going to stop you from doing it again? If you can't accept the road you played in getting yourself here today, why would you ever be able to get out of it? On the other hand, if you've been consistently investing in your memory banks, consistently watching yourself show up, get the rest, hydrate, do everything it takes, that does something to you mentally. When it comes to athletes performing at the highest level, there's something called flow states. They're performing at their best, but they're not using maximal mental output in order to do it because they've been there so many times. They trained, worked hard, blood, sweat, and tears, and everything else they needed to do in order to reach their goal. And now that they're here, all they gotta do is cruise. That's when you know you prepared enough. That's when you know you did everything you could. And that is when you hit the flow state. Here I am with the results, and it feels amazing. But when you choose not to prepare, when you choose to procrastinate, when you choose to make excuses, which will always be there, you choose to rob yourself of ever becoming your best. Don't let it be you. So lock in and pay yourself everything that you know you deserve. Also, what was your starting point? The person who's been training for 5 years straight and the person who just started don't have the same starting point, which means they probably won't have the same end result. The lifelong marathon runner and the person who just started a month ago are not going to get the same results, and they don't need to. If the lifelong runner starts comparing himself to the person who never does, he'll start to backslide. When the person who's fit and has run multiple marathons or races is comparing themselves to the person who never has, the only possible outcome is them backtracking and falling into mediocrity. On the other hand, if you're a person who doesn't do this, you're just getting started with the races, but you compare yourself to the person at the top, the same way the seasoned runner shouldn't be comparing themselves to the person who never trains, the person who hasn't been training shouldn't be comparing themselves to the best. And it's not because they can't ever reach that point. It's because if you measure yourself up against somebody else's work, history, and progress, you'll always come up short because you haven't done what they have. That is a part of respecting the process, understanding that the work you put in on a day-to-day is the reason why you're here. And if you haven't done it, you don't deserve to be at the top. And if you have, you got everything it takes to push yourself to be the best. So go for it. How early or late were you when it came to starting that training camp for the race? How consistently did you show up throughout the training camp for the race? All of these things play a role. And while they may not be 1,000% in your hand, you play the biggest role in how much you show up and consistently perform. So show up and give it your all. Otherwise, you don't get to complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. This is the infinite evolution. This is why race day is such a reality check, because whether you've been training or not, your body's been keeping an accurate diary of every single thing you've been doing. What have you given it to work with? Because you either handled business beforehand or you didn't. You put in the work like you needed to, or you underachieved. Have you chosen to reap the benefits of healthy eating and clean nutrition? Or have you chosen to make life much harder than it needs to be because you wouldn't be disciplined leading up to that race? Your mind is strengthened by consistency and repetition. If you know you did the work, ate and hydrated like you were supposed to, then pushing yourself to be your best on race day is nothing. But if you didn't, it's going to be a struggle. Which one are you choosing to set yourself up for? If you know you did the work already, you know exactly how and when to push yourself in order to get the best results. Which leads to my next revelation. Practice and training are not the race. You still need to show up and perform. You still need to give it your all, and you still need to live up to everything that you've been preparing for. This is why you prepared. This is why you've been training. You still need to step up and do what you trained for. Nobody else can do it for you, and you're already here, signed up, ready to roll under the bright lights and waiting for the chance to do it. This is what you train for. Remember to have fun while you're running. Embrace the moment. Smile as you do it, and the results become that much more satisfying because you know how much of a blessing it is to be out there running. Everybody didn't wake up this morning. everybody isn't able to physically train, eat right. Not everybody can afford food. Not everybody has the opportunity to be here, but you do. And once you've been blessed with such an immense opportunity, how could you not smile? As adults, we often forget the magic of what it was like to be a kid. When it would be raining and pouring, you would go outside and you would jump in puddles and you would smile and be happy. Yeah, when you come home, your clothes might be soggy and your feet might be a little bit wet, but you had a great time. Well, if you can keep that same energy during the race, imagine how much better it'll be. Nothing feels as good as when you cross that finish line, and only you can push yourself to it. But if you wait until the finish line to have any fun, you miss the point of the race, because the journey is the destination. All the training, all the hard work, all the eating right, all the rest, nutrition, everything you did was literally loving yourself through action, training yourself, preparing yourself, being disciplined and committed to something, a cause that you had to decide on. All of that is intentional. All of that is up to you, and all of it is a reason in order to smile. This is the infinite evolution. Strong, healthy, fit, sharp, committed, disciplined, dedicated, all of it, and all of it at a high enough level to literally run a race. This is you, and you prepared for it. Take your moment, smile as you do it, and smell the flowers along the way, because it may never happen again. If there's one thing this whole process has taught me, life is precious, and you never know how much of it you have. You never know when your last moment with that loved one will be, and you never know when your last moment with yourself right here on earth will be. So take advantage of it, because it could be your last, or it could be their last, or it could be the last. Whatever the case, lock in, show up, and smile throughout the journey. So whether you're running, walking, or jogging, that time you spend on that course is yours. And understand how precious it truly is. This is how you live life to the fullest. This is how you embrace the beautiful gift of the present. And this is the infinite evolution. Because once the moment is here and you hit that starting line, ready to take that first step of the race, keep in mind, you're alive, healthy, strong, fit, and you've done everything you needed to in order to make it to this moment. If that's not enough to make you smile, you might need to check your pulse. Maybe you need to put things in perspective. So enjoy your moment and smell the flowers along the way. You are ready enough. Not perfect, still human, but definitely ready enough. Ready enough to go get it. Ready enough to go win. Ready enough to prove to yourself that all the work you've done wasn't in vain. Your eyes will never forget what they see that day. What priceless moments, masterpieces even, will you choose to create, because your time is here and you're more than ready enough. This is the infinite evolution.